Hi, my name's Shawn Taylor. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek, and I'm so excited. We've been talking about this for a long time. We are going to rank every single episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender based on the ratings that we have so meticulously taken through each and every episode of our podcast. Now we have accumulated them into a single, hyper-official, completely thoroughly scientific ranking of every single episode in the show, and I am extremely excited. Chris, thoughts, motivational speech?
This is the most definitive ranking. This is the definitive ranking of Avatar: Last Airbender episodes. If you're new here, if you never watched our episodes, we have meticulously reviewed every single episode, broke it down, rated it by 3 categories: audio visual, which is the audio, sound, and visual, the animation, things like that; story, of course, that's self-explanatory; and how memorable
Memorability? Memorableness?
Yeah, I think ness is better. And we, depending on our preferences, we weighted those. So I think my weights were like 40% audio visual, 40% story, and then the rest was memorable. And then Shawn did his, and then we have
30, 40, 30. You were 25, 40, 15, or 35, 45, 15, or something like that.
Yeah.
35,
I think,
50,
yes.
15. That one. That's what you are.
Yeah.
Long story short,
And
we
then-
don't take this lightly. We talk.
No.
If you've never listened to an episode, you should go listen to one just to know that we talk for these episodes for like 45 minutes a pop, and then sometimes much longer about unrelated stuff. Very serious about our ratings here because they're right. So, I don't have much else to say other than that. I'm really excited to get started. I guess I'll say that we're starting from the bottom. Yeah, I have a few things that we should preface with. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're starting from the bottom and working our way up. So starting with the worst, going to the best. And that we are using our aggregate ratings. So your rating and my rating, and we average them together. And that is our definitive 2 out of 2 podcast hosts agree. And then also that the episodes that are part 1, part 2, we rated and reviewed those as a singular episode. So there's a handful of part 1, part 2s, and then one particular episode has actual 4 episodes in it. Those are all reviewed as one. And then first and second episode, those aren't really a part 1 and part 2, but they aired same day, back to back, and are frequently treated as one. So a few episodes like that to keep your eye on. That's why in total there's only 53 on this list. We didn't forget any. We just rated them one at a time. I think that's all the preface I have to give.
I think that's all you need. Buckle up, guys, because you're about to find out exactly where they're ranked at.
Ready.
And I am excited because I have not seen these. Shawn have seen them. So I am dying to know, first off, what is the absolute worst episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I'm so excited. Are you ready for this? It's pretty easy.
Ah, dang it. It's a great deal.
Oh, I thought you were joking. I assumed you do.
Well, I honestly wasn't sure.
Okay.
There's a couple episodes that I'm pretty sure are going to be like, yes, The Great Divide. I'm kind of sad because I'm one of those people who don't like to be, I don't know, basic. And
hating on it is a
basic answer that The Great.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes cliches are cliches for a reason. And The Great Divide, it's clearly the worst episode there is. We scientifically did it.
I mean, if you think, I don't like to be basic either. I just like to think for myself. Sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't. But if you think about this episode, you think of just, it's hideously ugly. The story is dumb. And the only reason it's memorable is because we hate it. So,
I also want to shout out to the director, Giancarlo Volpe, who I've talked to several times on Twitter. Great guy. Even he's like, hey, you know what? Sometimes you direct The Great Divide. Sometimes you direct the finale. And he did direct the finale.
So, you know, you win one, you win some, you lose some. There's way more good episodes than The Great Divide. Yeah. Obviously, it's number 53. In parentheses there, that's our aggregate ranking.
Yes, 5.7 out of 10.
So, you know what? That's still saying that we would rather watch it than, you know, an episode of Friends, probably.
I love Friends.
Oh no.
No.
I used to love Friends. I don't love Friends as an adult, but we can let's discuss that another time. I'm excited. Let's get to the next episode. Yeah. 52. The headband.
The headband. Really? The headband? Whoa, man.
You didn't love it. You were below average on it, and I did not like it at all. You were below your norm on it.
Yeah, but still, it's interesting that the Great Divide was 5.7, and it jumped to 6.8 in the next one. It wasn't a
biggest jump, and it's not close. Not even remotely. You'll notice I have bottom 5 less than 7.0. Well, we had 5.7 and 6.8. So to fill out the rest of the bottom 5 is 6.8 to 7.0. If that tells you anything about how we feel. You know, so many of this episodes of this show are great that when it feels like we're being nitpicky, it's because we are. Like, it's a great show. There aren't a lot of terrible episodes. Let's be honest.
I think my issue with the headband was that it was fairly irrelevant and inconsequential, and it was just kind of cute. The episode didn't have that much meat to it.
I weight memorable a little higher than you do, and memorable is just our X factor. I call it memorable. It's X factor, whatever sticks with you. And I think what hurts, like even right now, is I cannot remember much of anything in this episode. It was really low impact. The story must not have been interesting. There you go. So yeah, sorry, headband. But again, huge jump from 5.7 to 6.8. Number 51, more expected.
Number 51, Bato of the Water Tribe. Honestly, I was kind of hoping this would be on the worst, more worse than the Great Divide, because subjectively, I hate this episode more, actually, because to me, there's all these characters in this episode. It just betrays their character, right? Aang holds the note. He lies to his friends. His friends just kind of abandon him at that point. Oh yeah, now I remember. The saving grace for this episode is the introduction of June, who I love. I love June. So she is the saving grace of this episode, which probably prompted me to rank it higher than the Great Divide.
June meeting Bato, giving some credit, and maybe a hair more satisfying ending than the Great Divide. I will agree with you, though, that if I could go back, I would make this rank lower than the headband. I think that seems fair. But such is life. Hey, it's definitive. It's set in PowerPoint stone. Number 50.
Oh, number 50, Imprisoned. This is the one with Haru and his dad. And I kind of forget what we didn't like about it. But yeah, I can easily skip it, honestly. I never need to go back and rewatch this episode.
I probably brought it down a long ways because I went into that big amount of research about coal bending, and it made me mad when I found that they couldn't, like a coal bend better or whatever. I don't remember, but same boat, maybe being a little melodramatic, but the only good thing that comes out of it is you get to meet Haru and his dad, who are pretty solid characters for such little exposure. I think that's fair. And then the last, the number 5 of our bottom 5, the best of the worst.
The fortune teller. I feel like you must have dragged this down because
I hate the fortune teller. I despise it.
Okay.
I probably demolished it. I kind of wish I had my rating sheet available to us. Let me think about how to get it on screen where we can see it, but other people can't. It's kind of comical, but not really. I don't know.
I mean, I like the fortune teller, right? You got Mang in there. You got some good comedy between Sokka and Aang, because they're Aang is getting advice from Sokka, but Sokka thinks he's talking about Mang, the girl with the unkept hair, I guess. But Aang is talking about Katara, and so he's giving him advice. Oh gosh, I love that scene. Sokka's like, you know what? You're too nice. Right, girls, they'll walk over. You need to be more aloof. Makes it seem like you don't really care about them at all. And then Mang comes over right at the same time and says, "Hey, Aang." He's like, "Whatever." He walks away. And Sokka's like, "Man, that kid is good." And it's just a complete
I
misunderstanding.
I hate this episode because I think one of the number one things you should know about me is that I hate rom-coms. I despise them. And this episode feels like a tiny little poorly executed rom-com. Or maybe well executed. I don't know how to watch enough of them because I despise them. So, no offense to Fortune Teller. The people piss me off in it. I don't really like the mushier sides of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's not my style.
I do think a lot of these bottom five have something in common. They don't have that much Zuko in them. Like, so if you look at it, The Great Divide, no Zuko. The Fortune Teller, no Zuko. Bottom of the Water Tribe did have Zuko. What was the other one again?
But even did it have Zuko, but not that much?
Yeah, it wasn't that much
the headband?
Zuko. Headband did not have Zuko. Zuko, he might have probably the record for best episodes, right? If I had to take a tally of best episodes per character, he would rank high, which he must rank high.
I was gonna say that all these episodes, and it's probably not probably, it's related directly to Zuko's presence as a source of like good dramatic tension and good storytelling, and none of these episodes like have any good real consequences in the larger scheme of the show, and most of them don't even stand that well on their own as independent stories. So yeah, probably directly related to one another.
Yeah.
At this point, we are not going to do independent slides for all, but I do still have them appear one at a time, so still got some drama. I called this slide the worst of the rest, and it ranged from 7.2 to 7.6, and it's kind of a hodgepodge. So number 48 is the waterbending scroll.
Ooh, yeah, the waterbending scroll. There's also one other one that I could skip. I mean, sure, we're introduced to some pirates, but Katara. To me, this isn't a great Katara episode. Also, the message of the episode ends with Katara being like, "Oh yeah, it's not good to steal unless it's from pirates." And I don't know, it's just
you talked about character betrayal earlier, and that definitely hits here across the episode too.
Right, like Katara in the Runaway episode, you're like getting on top about stealing, and granted, I kind of get it more there because they're drawing attention to themselves, and although here they're drawing attention to themselves, right? They come in contact with pirates.
Pirates, like pirates aren't like a secretive. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's. I would never say it is a bad episode. Like I personally would never skip it. But
honestly, at this point, I don't think there is a bad episode. I do think The Great Divide is a bad episode. Bottom of the Water Tribe is a bad episode. I wouldn't necessarily describe The Headband as a bad episode, but you don't like it.
I can totally agree with like your low bar on those two though. Like if you have to point at this TV series and find two episodes that you like, just literally just don't watch them. I could totally get on board with those two being that. So a little sad that the ratings didn't pan out that way, but I know more now than I did when we started. So such is life. No, waterbending scroll. If anything, watch it just to see some of the fluid waterbending motions, and that's kind of cool. That's about it.
Oh, I think it's a good fight between all the pirates and stuff, and Uncle Iroh does a pretty great line of like, because
the shopping.
Oh yeah, the whole shopping thing too. But there's a scene where Zuko and the pirate leader guy are fighting, and Iroh separates them. He says, "Are you too blind to see your own ship is sailing?" And then Zuko's like, "Uncle, we don't have time for your proverbs." Yeah, and he's like, "It's not a proverb. Your ship is sailing." He's like, "Maybe it should be a proverb." Like so Iroh.
The mere fact that we can point to a couple of good moments in the episode, like I have no problem also dividing this episode from any of those previous 5. But yeah, it's not great. That's why it's here. And speaking of the Runaway, there's a little poetic justice there.
Maybe you weighed this down. Gosh, I feel like you probably did. Thing is, I don't
Runaway. Like this one. I don't like episodes where characters act like snouts. First of all, where my beloved characters act like little shits. I hate all of those episodes. So yeah, I definitely ruined this one for you, and I'm sorry.
Okay, one thing. This episode has some of the greatest blind comedy in the show. when Sokka and 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 Aang are trying to write a letter from Katara, wait, from Toph to Katara. Katara's like, I know this is from you, Sokka. Toph can't write.
Can't argue with that, but you can get good blind comedy in a lot of other episodes. This is like
okay. Also, to me, this has one of the most sincerest moments from Sokka when he takes Toph aside and talks about how Katara can't be motherly and she can't be overbearing, but for Sokka, he depends on that because Katara has always been there for him. And he goes on to say, like, you know, their mother died young. He goes on to say, like, anytime I try to imagine how my mom looks like, Katara is the face that I see. And that's, to me, is just so informative of the character that Sokka is. Gosh, Shawn, I'm pretty sure you weighed this down. I don't think I would have weighed this down.
I'm not pretty sure. I'm positive. I stand by what I said. I don't like episodes where my characters are little shits. I'll give you the blind comedy piece and the touching piece, but again, I don't. Some of the touchy, mushy stuff it doesn't always hit. It doesn't always hit me right at home like it's supposed to. This one to me was more surprising to see it this low.
Probably just so the Warriors of Kyoshi we're on 46 if you guys are listening.
Oh yeah.
The Warriors of Kyoshi is probably just it's the next episode after the pilot. Yeah. Which so it feels probably just more fluff.
It's a little bland. It's not but it's so much I don't know, like you meet impactful characters, you get a lot of good character development, you get a good fight scene, like it has a lot of foundations that I would look for in a good episode, so it must have just felt a little bland at the time.
Yeah, but no, I have no real qualms with Warriors of Kyoshi.
Number 45, The Swamp. Unless you're a fan of comedy that makes fun of gator people.
Yeah. Hey, Chew, what you doing? Yeah, The Swamp is one of those episodes where I feel like it's good, but also I don't need to watch it. Really, like, oh, I remember what my issue with The Swamp is. My issue with The Swamp is that pretty much it's only important for the end of it. Like the only important thing in there is that Aang sees an image of Toph. That's really it.
I mean, I guess the swamp guy, what's his name, comes back later with the White Lotus.
Yeah, all of them come back. Yeah.
For me, it's an episode. You know me, I like things that are funny, and this one it is funny, but it like not the charming sort of inadvertent funny that most of the good episodes are. It tries a little too hard. It misses the mark a little. Not bad, just whatever. Number 44 is... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. We'll go back and forth. We're trying to do that.
No, number 44, the Deserter. I feel like you probably weighed this one down again also. This one doesn't... I'm telling you, we have a running theme here where a lot of these episodes that's ranked low don't have Zuko in it. Because I don't remember Zuko really being in the Deserter that much.
Of Kyoshi, and I mean, I guess the waterbending scroll has him for a bit, right? So,
yeah.
But no,
so more than not. I mean, what, like so far, 8 of the bottom 10 don't have Zuko in it.
Missing Zuko seriously, yeah. I don't know that I weighed it down in a specific way like the previous examples. I would say this is another one where just technicality of being rated slightly lower than a lot of other episodes, and I don't know, it's not the most well-rounded, interesting episode.
I mean, the thing I loved about the episode was definitely John Jong. He was the standout here. Just the way he talked about destiny, and I love the cliche of the angry teacher. I feel like most of the time it happens in like more so martial arts movies. Like him just belittling Aang of like Aang being like, so you just want me to breathe? Like I've been breathing all day. I've been doing my breathing exercises. Like you want to quit breathing? And it's just and it's like, what does a child know of destiny? What does a river know of of its destiny when it can't see the ocean.
Yeah.
Like his metaphors were great. I loved them.
I don't have any specific qualms with it, and I don't remember off the top of my head my ratings being specifically horrible. I just
the biggest qualm is probably that Zhao is the main antagonist here with no Zuko around. So that probably
instead of Zuko, you get Zhao, and that's a terrible trade-off.
Yeah.
Number 43 is Return to Omashu.
I think it's one of the ones that it's kind of the same issue as the swamp. It's repetitive, really. Is that we're just here to get to the next point. Like we're just there to just so Boomy can say, "Hey, you need to find this certain person who can teach you to listen to the earth." Besides that, like the swamp already did that. Or did the swamp come after? I can't remember.
Let me think. This came before the swamp. Return to Omashu, then swamp.
Yeah. Okay. But either way, it's just that was the main purpose of that. Although we did get introduced to like Azula fighting in this one, so that was pretty good.
Okay.
A lot of good fights there.
And May in this one as well, right? With her family.
Yep.
I would say that on your point, they're not tangential. Like they're not totally unrelated. They're not stuff you can pluck and sit anywhere. But it's a very basic waypoint. For me, there's probably an okay fight scene, but nothing particularly stands out other than that I like Boomy. So yeah, I had no qualms there for me.
Number 42, The Beach. Jamie reviewed this episode with us. Did she add in rankings on here? Or you just took our
I hope I did the right thing. She added her ratings, but I did not include them because I didn't want that to bias this episode.
No, that's fine. I would have done the same thing.
Jamie, I excluded you, and I'm a bad person.
That's coming from us as analysts, right? That's our background. Like you want to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges, as people say.
It's Jamie's an orange. We're apples. That's what...
Yeah, we're apples.
Before we get too far into this episode, it is important to remember that these, like, we're talking about a really narrow margin between 7 point. This is probably 7.6 based on what I have there, and in the best possible episodes of the series. Like we're talking about a really narrow margin between number 42 and number 3. So just keep that in mind before we rail too hard on it or too soft.
Okay, I'm saying I love The Beach. I didn't know that I loved it as much as I did before this rewatch, and I've rewatched Avatar like 15, 16 times, whatever. I've lost count. But for some reason, this rewatch of it, I really started to empathize way more with May. Started to empathize more so with that, specifically that beach scene on the beach, and just seeing how much they all talk about the whole personal issues, and I found out that I relate way more to May, like being closed off, things like that, because of parents kind of coming down hard on you. So yeah, I love The Beach. I know, Shawn, you hate it. Whatever, you're wrong.
I came more in touch with Tylee. I did like it more after my. So keep in mind that we watch it, we give our ratings, and then we have a discussion. If there's a flaw in our scientific system, it's that it doesn't allow for negotiation, so to speak. So I wouldn't change it too much though, because again, characters acting like little shits. But I did appreciate it much more after having that conversation with you and Jamie. Much more insightful look at it. Okay, next slide. I called these maybe skippable, and that is way too harsh because I would not.
That's way too harsh. I feel like the ones above are maybe skippable. This is narrow. 7.7, 7.8.
We'll get there. We'll get to there. Anyway, number 41 is Jet. Y'all know how I feel about Jet. If I had to pick between him and the beach episode, I'm not sure which I would pick, so I'm glad they're both down here real tight together. Talking about characters not being true to character, this is not a good look for Katara, in my opinion. I don't have any issue with having this episode down here. I guess is all I'm getting at.
I like Jet. One thing, the animation in the Jet versus Aang fight is absolutely beautiful. Love that. Very well choreographed. And Jet to me presents an interesting antagonist. It was the first time that this world was painted in grays and not in black and whites. So I love Jet just for that. The episode Jet. Also,
but it
like
wasn't
Jet.
gray enough. Like it wanted to paint it gray instead of black and white, but Jet was clearly being a douchebag. Like it was terrible. He was gonna kill those people.
That is true.
So like it wanted to do that, but it didn't. You know, I don't know. Like what we talked about last week in our Promise comic book episode is like way more sort of negotiable gray area. I guess I don't know. I'm being hard just because I don't like him. But it turns out that we found that the internet agrees with me, so it's fine. Right? We did some kind of poll of
some poll on who likes Jet.
People hate Jet.
I think it was 60% of people hate Jet.
And I thought it was going to be I thought people were going to love Jet. They were going to like this underappreciated gem of the series.
I'm considering buying a Jet action figure off of eBay right now for like $18, but...
And that would actually be kind of flattering because every time you looked at that, you'd think of this conversation that we're having right now. So I'd be flattered a little bit.
All right, number 40, The Chase, which is it's a good episode. It's the one where Azula is tracking them all down. Oh yeah, the reason why we probably don't like this one is that they're all fighting with each other. But it's probably reasonable because they're sleep deprived, and that's kind of Azula's. Well, that's not Azula's plan. But Azula's plan is to make them sleep deprived. I don't think she took into fighting. Oh, they're going to be in fighting. But yeah.
You weren't super high. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't think that you're particularly super high, but I definitely drug it with the lower ratings of 2 because characters acting like shits and sort of it's pretty early into like our introduction into Azula. So if there's like a saving grace, it's that you're getting some real good like determined lengths, like going to any lengths. Azula here, get to see the Fire Nation tech. So there's still plenty of good to be had here for sure. Number 30. Oh, my bad. Wait.
No, I think you posted. Anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you go.
The Ember Island Players. This is probably the first one where I liked it way more than you liked it, and it's just sort of a relativity thing to those like wrap-up episodes. I thought it did a really nice job. I could do without the whole like Aang forcing the Katara kiss kind of scene, but as far as a wrap-up episode goes, it's really good for what it is, but it's still, to your rankings point, a wrap-up episode.
Recap episodes.
Thank you.
I could skip. I can honestly skip the Ember Island Players more than any of them besides Bottom of the Water Tribe and the Great Divide. Yeah.
So not that it's your third least favorite in particular, but in terms of like whether or not you would actually watch it if you were just burning through the series.
Yeah, I could easily skip it.
That's fair. I mean, if you've seen the whole series, you don't really need to see it. I'd say it has a good comedy and an interesting take. That's probably the best possible takeaways. So,
number 38, The Serpent's Pass. I think we're starting to get into good episodes because I think I remember doing a fairly good rating on The Serpent's Pass. It must have got between 7.7 and 7.8. But between my own, I kind of like the Aang was standoffish, right? He lost so much control in the previous episode. And there's a lot of good conversations about hope and everything. But Zuko's Zuko might be in this, but he's not in it a lot.
I would agree. We're getting into just generally better episodes across the board. This episode has a lot of like weirdly neat tie-ins to past and future episodes, like a lot of little things and pieces, characters you haven't seen or will see more of in the future, and I don't know, a lot of things that it pulls together in a really cool way. Yeah,
Suki comes back.
Yeah.
Call back to Sokka losing UA.
Maybe the main conflict isn't the most interesting, but it does a lot of interesting stuff around it. Something like that. Number 37 is... Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I keep messing up too.
Okay, I am on the.
You take evens,
Wait,
I'll
no,
take
let's
odds. Yeah, you take evens, I'll take odds.
Okay. Okay, go.
So the number 37 is the Northern Air Temple. We should have talked about this. I'm
should,
odd.
yeah.
I'll take odds because I'm odd. You're even keel. You get evens. The Northern Air Temple, but I have to ask you because I don't remember which Air Temple is.
Well, it's the Northern Air Temple.
I don't remember which one is which episode.
This is the one where they meet the Mechanist.
Okay, got it. So yeah, you know what? That's probably one that I liked quite a bit more than you. I liked the Mechanist story. I remember even ranking it like it was in my top 5 episodes of that season, even if I'm not mistaken. I really liked him. I really liked the story of his kid. That to me, that's like a real gray area episode. Like he's helping the Fire Nation to protect his family. Like that to me is really powerful and tangible. But it's also goofy and a lot of debatable decisions on the Mechanist's part, obviously. So
yeah, I thought the episode was fine.
Yeah,
it was fine. Number 36 is, so now we're going to these group from their rankings from 7.9 to 8.0. Wow, yeah, slightest margins. Shawn put title these just below average.
And then being very specific, just below average rating of the episode, and then just below average in terms of their actual rank and what the average rank would be, 26, 27. So both ways.
Yeah, cool. Number 36, Nightmares and Daydreams. Pretty much this episode can just be reduced to just acid drips for Aang. Like that's there's a couple interesting and things in there for Zuko that he goes and visits he goes and joins a war meeting. But other than that, it's just it's very skippable.
It is funny-ish, but not even in the usual funny way. But I would say it's funny, but not really important. Number 35 is the library. That's where they're out in the desert, and they find the library. They're looking for the Day of Black Sun information is essentially what they find. I'm pretty sure
I rated this higher than you. Ah, man,
that's funny. I was thinking the other way around, so maybe we were both just kind of. I was thinking the opposite because I really like the big scary bird because secretly, deep down, I'm scared of birds. But I would say that it's another one you can chalk up to like, I don't know. It's important. It's really important. But maybe the main conflict itself is kind of frustrating, and then you lose Appa, and then you get upset at Aang. So like, important, but it's got some things going against it too.
Yeah. Oh, it does have one of my favorite jokes in it because I just started working at McDonald's when this episode kind of started, and I grasped the concept of vacation time because they're talking about who gets to choose what vacation, and Tom was like, when do I get to choose? And Sokka's like, you gotta acquire a little more vacation time before you get to choose where we go. I'm like, I get that. That's an adult joke.
That is adorable. Yeah, I get upset at Aang's treatment of Toph for saving their lives. But
I think that's the next episode.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So what would that? What was that one even titled?
The desert. Yeah, that was when we agreed. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You like this episode? You like the library a lot more than me, but I like the desert a lot more than you.
Because the guitar scene. Well, I assume. Hey, look at that!
I knew it. Yeah, look at that.
Poetic justice.
So number 34 is the desert, which abruptly comes right after the library. I love this episode. It's such a great guitar episode because guitar really holds the whole group together. I understand what Aang is going through. Aang lost Appa. He's upset. To me, I completely understand his frustrations with everyone. And the end of this episode, Aang goes into Avatar state against the Sandbenders. To me, that's one of the best moments from the series. It's one of the most memorable moments for me. Like when he just says, "You muzzled Appa," and it's just, "Tell me where Appa is." It's so good.
I mean, it's not like I've rated it super low because obviously it's ended up near the middle. But I'd say the qualms is that a little bit of comedy happens. Aang kills a murder hornet. And then there's a good moment at the end. And that's it's all at the end. It's there is some good jokes and things in there. I think we get some good blind humor, but everything important that happens is right at the end. So yeah, I wasn't as fond of this one as you, but that's fine. Like, clearly it's not too bad because it wound up here smack dab in the middle. So number 33 is The Drill. Maybe an interesting, gosh, I don't know much to say. It's an interesting Sokka episode. You're starting to see some Sokka development. Interesting point in the series, starting to get toward a big sort of overarching series build towards a serious climax. The episode itself, I don't have a lot of strong feelings for or against. It's fine, I guess.
I just love the. To me, this episode has a lot of stakes in it because Azula is attacking the Earth Kingdom with the drill, about to infiltrate it, and to me, it took all of Team Avatar to take out the drill, and it ended really, really great. Ended with a really great Aang and Azula fight.
Fight was very solid. Like I said, I think it has a bigger series impact that's extremely important. I wouldn't be able to tell you offhand what happens other than them all working together to take down the drill. I'd have to think pretty hard, but again, not bad. Just it's in the middle here. We're talking 0.1 differences.
Number 32, Bitter Work. This is probably one of the only. Oh no! Oh gosh, I was about to say Zuko's not in this episode, but he is, and he's amazing in it. It's when he tries to learn lightning bending from Iroh. And
yeah.
I think one of my favorite things about it is that Iroh talks to Zuko about the Four Nations, and how Zuko can be better if he learns from all of them. How if you take your wisdom only from one source, it becomes rigid and stale. All that was amazing. On top of that, Aang is learning earthbending from Toph, and then there's the whole C plot where Sokka gets stuck in the thing. So really, it's a really good episode, I think.
Yeah, it seems surprising it's a little low. I probably could have drug it down just because, like, Toph and Aang, a little unbearable here, but there's really good comedy in it from Sokka, and then the emotional scenes from Zuko and Iroh, very potent, very interesting. So I'm a little surprised it's this low. So here we've got the true average in both senses. The actual average rating was 8.1, and then we're also getting to that average median of episode rankings. So purely average.
Also, I want people to know that these scores are relative to Avatar, not relative to all shows.
That's probably fair.
Because 8.1 was like, man, you guys on average rank Avatar 8.1. Like, no, it's just Avatar standards.
Which is a very high standard, as it turns out.
Yeah.
The Waterbending Master, this is one where I was a little surprised it was not higher, not sort of above average, just for that fight.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Yeah,
And it even has good build-up, too. Like, just all the backstory, the tradition-breaking, the Katara character building. I was pretty surprised to see this one here. Such is life.
Yeah, I agree with you. That fight is really great. Number 30 is Appa's Lost Days. This is probably one of the most heartbreaking episodes. Simply put, it's one of the most heartbreaking. It sends you on a roller coaster of emotions because sometimes you're like, oh, Appa will get saved. No, Appa, worse things happening to him. Oh, Appa might get saved. Worst thing again. Man. Another episode directed by Giancarlo Volpe. Sorry I can't name other directors, but Giancarlo Volpe just seems to be one that I always follow a lot.
Well, it's because he's a friend of the show. He's the one and only director friend of the show, a.k.a. Twitter responder occasionally. I'm a little surprised that this one... I probably did drag this one down, but I do have more tolerance for it than some of the other sort of hyper-emotional episodes. Just because it covers a lot of ground. You run into a lot of interesting characters, see bits and pieces of a lot of interesting stories. 29, The Southern Air Temple. Throw me a bone here. Which one's that?
The Southern Air Temple is when... It's episode 3. It's when Aang goes to Aang goes to Southern Air Temple, where he's from.
Okay, yeah. So
And
we get tons
oh,
and
you know
tons
what
of
was really
important.
great about this one? That this is the one where Zhao's introduced. Not that part that's great, but Zhao and Zuko have an Agni Kai, and to me that was a really great Agni Kai. I think that's when I started to fall in love with the show because it seemed, I don't know, it's just so epic.
Deliberate,
So yeah,
detailed.
it was, and also it's like the first time that Aang goes, angry with rage. He goes after Satan, the angry state, which I always love. Kind of like Gohan, right, from Dragon Ball Z. That anger fuels his power. So I think I got a lot of kind of maybe some Dragon Ball Z vibes from this episode, and also just the Agni Cow was really good. So
I mean, someday you got to play Dragon Warrior game. Yeah, this episode you get tons of great backstory, great fight, lots of character. Like it's like exposition, but it's actually packed into two very meaningful stories and powerful tropes. So yeah, great episode.
number 28, The Boy in the Iceberg and the Avatar Returns. This is, I'm surprised it's not as high. Granted, it's the first episode, but to me, this is one of the best pilots of anything I've seen. It might be the best pilot. Like, they do such a good job. And this is one that we lumped in together because they do really feel like one episode, The Boy in the
No,
Iceberg and Avatar Returns.
no self-respecting fan of Avatar would ever watch the first episode, whether you were binging it or it was on TV or whatever. Nobody would ever stop after the first one, ever in history. Impossible.
Yeah. But it's so good. They introduce the characters, all of them so well. Mostly your main four, Katara, Aang, Sokka, and Zuko, and they inform them so much with the littlest bit um, dang it, why can't I think of the stupid word?
Exposition.
Exposition. And it's done so well. This is like a master class in how to do exposition. It's not clunky, but you get so much information just from natural conversations.
In theory, this pilot, here we have it ranked as average. I think if you went and took the average show and you compared its pilot versus the rest of his episodes, that pilot's going to look pretty bad. So props to a good pilot here. Number 27 is The Awakening. So that is, what is that? Episode 1 of season 3 or chapter 1 of book 3, essentially.
Man, I'm surprised we ranked. I mean, I'm not surprised. There's a really great moment, really great guitar moment with her dad that I'm pretty sure I just pushed over the top with it because she's talking to her dad. And she's like, just crying to him because Aang disappeared. She's like, doesn't he know that we can help him? Like, he's out serving the world. We can help him. And at one point, her dad's like, you're not talking about Aang, are you? And then she breaks him from it. She's like, Dad, you were gone. I know we had Grand, but... And then he, of course, says, like, which I've mentioned before in the Father's Ranking video, one of my favorite moments from Lakota is when he talks to Katara and how when he was gone, he would stay up at night and miss him so much that it would ache. Like, so good.
I'm sure you had it ranked higher than I did. I don't know if I have any serious qualms with it. No, it's not the most action-packed episode or anything, but yeah, it's good, especially, again, for you've come off a long break, and you're not, I mean, you assume that Aang's not dead, but you're not totally sure, and it's pretty satisfying, so,
yeah. Episode 26, or ranked number 26, The Earth King. Gosh, it's kind of hard to, the Earth King's episode, where they meet the Earth King. I'm kind of forgetting why it was so good because a lot of those episodes those end episodes of season 2 kind of just go into each other.
They do. My guess is that it feels very high stakes by the end of the episode. You see a lot of the gears turning, all the bad stuff that's going to happen. It feels very big picture and very scary.
Yeah, Long Fei. They finally got Long Fei rid of. Zuko becomes seriously ill. That might be some of the Zuko stuff that I really like.
Yeah, I totally forgot that was in here. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a big role. And then Long Feng is gone, but you still like the whole episode does a pretty nice job of I don't want to say building up dread, but building a lot of tension throughout the episode. Doesn't necessarily go how you'd expect. So, yeah. It's good. 25, Painted
Number
Lady.
25. Sorry, keep going.
As far as, I wouldn't call it one-off episodes, but it's kind of tangential. It's great. I love it. I love Katara's design in it. I love the story. I love what it does for her character. It's a great episode, and I imagine
great Katara episode.
Similar.
Favorite line of Katara comes from this episode, which is so Katara. She says, "I would never ever turn my back on people who need me." Such a great Katara line. So it probably won the episode for me.
Tremendous episode.
Number 24, The Storm. Great flashback episode. I'm pretty sure I ranked this higher than you. I remember you not liking this episode as much as I did. But man, we learned about
it's just all flashbacks. I mean,
and more
clearly I didn't demolish it because it made 24. Like if I would have crushed it, it would have gone. But it's all flashbacks. I don't know. Tell me a story in the moment.
It's a great episode. Such a great dichotomy between those two characters. Right, whatever. Let's move on to 23.
I think that the rankings will prove that it is an average episode or slightly above average at best. 23. Speaking of episodes that one person liked more than the other, if you would have told me that this was like in my top 10 episodes in all 3 seasons, I might have believed you. Like, it's funny, it's interesting, it appeals very strongly to one of my favorite characters. But Sokka's Master is a tremendous episode from top to bottom with great lessons and values and a great little story in there, and I love it. Sokka's Master. Better than The Storm.
And these are the definitive rankings. We can't go back on these.
That's right. This is it. You can't even change your opinions after this. Once you've heard these, it's official.
The thing I love about Sokka's Master before I get to 22 is Iroh working out. That was great. That was a good shot. Number 22 is the Western Air Temple. Oh man, to me this is one of the weirdly funny episodes, but it's weird Zuko awkward humor. Zuko just a hey.
Is this
Zuko
season
here.
3 Western Air Temple?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Combustion Man, Western Air Temple.
Yeah, Combustion Man's Doom as well.
I mean, you really start to feel for Zuko here. Like you maybe feel full confidence at this point. Like he's clearly gone out of his way. He's arrived. But definitely a turning point for my feelings with Zuko, at least. Number 21, The King of Omashu, which is probably a little high in hindsight, and I'm sure that was my fault.
No, you know what? No, I'm saying no in a good way. Just the line, "Let us leave," I think is worth it.
Makes it all worthwhile.
Let us leave.
Boomy is a great character, and it's a really nice story. You like the challenges. Good things tend to come in threes, and you get the 3 challenges. So, interesting and exciting. I suppose what makes it good is that Boomy does recur throughout the series in very impactful ways. Yeah. So, King of Omashu, 21.
So I'm also looking at IMDb ratings at the same time. King of, which I'll kind of glance through there when we're done, just to compare a little bit.
That'd be interesting.
Because I think these are like average ratings of all people who rated them. But King of Omashu was like ranked 57.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty harsh. Yeah. People don't have my sense
of humor.
All right,
we're in the top 20s. Yeah, we're in the top 20s now. Number 20, The Cave of Two Lovers. I mean, what more needs to be said in Secret Tunnel, honestly?
Did you watch that Family Feud clip? Family Feud, they say...
yeah, I was the one that made the clip.
Did you make the Secret Tunnel clip?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Family Feud, Steve Harvey says, name something... Wait, complete this statement. Secret blank.
The secret blank. Yeah, that's tunnel. All it is. It's just secret blank. It is this tunnel.
And then it's during the final thing. And then Steve Harvey's like, there's not a lot of those. And then it was 0 points.
Absolute 0. And I felt so bad. Good Katang episode too. Very important Katang episode.
Yeah,
So
Katara trying to kiss Aang again. Get your hands off of him, Katara.
yeah, Katara, it's
Jeez.
really her instigating all this. And then I
Yeah.
called this tier the best of the average, if you will, because we're still talking super duper close to average rankings. We've even included the average here, but that's 8.2 to 8.3 was that last group. Oh, there's one more on here. How about that? Yeah, and it fits pretty well. Number 19 is the Puppet Master. Again, maybe a little tangential, but very important to Katara's development. Really nice, good, self-contained story. Still plays a big role in the bigger picture and in the larger Avatar universe. Good episode.
Yeah, to me, this was a really great episode because it's one of those gray areas, which isn't that great because she was kidnapping people, but you understood Hama, right? The greatest villains, you don't necessarily agree with them, but you understand them. And I love that line, which is so freaking Malcolm X, just like, we must defeat them by any means necessary. And it's just like, man, like you see what all of that torment can do to a person, how it leads them to that way that Hama was. So,
There's real
really
empathy there. That's my favorite part of the whole episode. So up to this point, you get some like creepy vibes, and Toph says she can, feel the people under her feet or whatever. You meet this lady that's got creepy old dolls, but you still kind of are just passing it off as like, oh, there's going to be some kind of goofy quirk. Like it's going to be her, but it's going to be she's having children's theater in the basement or something awkward like that. But then when my favorite part is when she sweeps the water and like kills that whole field of flowers. And then I just remember being like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing. So, tremendous episode. Love it.
All right, getting really good apparently. So all of these are 8.4. At number 18 is the Firebending Masters. I'm pretty sure Shawn loved this more than I did, but I liked it a lot too.
Big Indiana Jones vibes from this one.
Hmm.
And dragons. I should have had this. Should have been an odd number. And dragons. Come on, they really like this. Is Aang and Zuko, like with sort of an allegory for their shared common purpose going forward. It's powerful, Chris. Hop on board. Number 17, the Southern Raiders. Should have given you this one. No, this is a great episode. I probably don't like it quite as much as you, just because again it's sort of a pretty heavy, and I just tend to not like the heavy stuff. But great episode where Katara seeking out vengeance for her mom. Very emotional, very satisfying, extremely satisfying ending. There's a great. We're talking about gray area episodes. Like this one hits it really hard in a really relatable, tangible way at the end, where it's like there's still she's not sure if she made the right decision or not.
Yeah,
we'd like
really
to
love
think
the
she
ending
did,
there where Katara says like, I didn't kill him. I don't know. I don't forgive him. I'll never forgive him. And like, I don't know if I didn't kill him because I'm strong enough that I didn't, or I'm weak enough that I couldn't. Yeah, really good Katara stuff there. So really good. Number 16 is Winter Solstice. So that's part 1 and 2. I think we just learned a lot in this episode. I think that was, for me, that was the biggest takeaway from it. And Grogu coming out, taking over Aang's body, just added a whole new kind of dimension to the Avatar state.
Yeah, I think we both, maybe as far as 2-part episodes, it maybe didn't get quite as high as the other ones, because not quite as much happens for a big 2-part episode, but a very cool ending. Yeah, just really powerful Avatar state experience. Number 15, the City of Walls and Secrets. I think I've already used the phrase a couple of times, but certain episodes that like start to really build the climax of the whole series and the whole universe. And this episode starts to give you some of those just big, heavy weight vibes that stuff's not quite going how it's supposed to go or how you want it to go for the crew. Very big uphill battle. Like it's just doing a really nice job of escalating the stakes and the climax of the larger series.
Yeah,
what happens
this was
specifically. This is another one.
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
to me,
you
blends
learn
in.
about just how the Earth Kingdoms just have been taken over. Also, in this episode, Jet has a fight with with Zuko, which I think it's a really good fight. Like Zuko doesn't firebend; it was just a sword on sword fight. So that probably pushed it over the top for me.
Can you remind me what else happens in this one? Is this the one where we see, or right after, like the end of the previous episode, we see Jet get brainwashed, and then this episode
it was at the end of this episode.
That's where we see him get brainwashed, right? Because he's not brainwashed when he's fighting Zuko.
Yep.
This is in that group that I'm going to say kind of runs together for me a little bit, but I have no doubt that our ratings were accurate, and that whole ending of season 2 is extremely potent.
Number 14. So we're getting to, all these are 8.5. Number 14, Avatar Day. I think this is a pretty funny episode, but without a doubt, Kyoshi makes this episode for me.
Funny, good Sokka episode. Kyoshi comes. I think the last 4 on this slide before we get to the top 10, then we'll start going one by one. Avatar Day, tremendous episode. Speaking of tremendous episodes, Blue Spirit, number 13. So much good Zuko, so much good action. That little bit of awkwardness at the end where there's like the hopeful bonding moment and then the heartbreak. I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Can't think of anything bad to say about it. That's for sure. Other than Zhao keeping proof of a corrupt political system that Zhao keeps getting promoted.
Yeah, for me, Blue Spirit's great. Just everything on that was really good. Number 12, the Avatar State. This was one that it was the first episode of Book 2. It really introduces a whole new, another dimension to the Avatar State. Like it explains it even more. And there's a lot of great stuff going on with Zuko in this. Azula, we get introduced to Azula. Now I know for sure that I love this episode more than you, because I remember talking about how I love her introduction and that whole dialogue about who commands the ship.
So
do the
corny.
tides command the ship, or
So
do I
corny.
command the ship? It's so good.
It's
Gosh,
corny.
you're so wrong. So good, Shawn. So Avatar State, number 12.
Clearly, I didn't hate it too much because it's here. I remember being maybe divided, not between you and me, but just sort of personally on that Earth Kingdom guy trying to use Aang and work the Avatar State out of him. But in hindsight, just a really clever use of character. A good guy, quote unquote, practically torturing him. Number 11, The Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Yeah, this is the best filler episode I think there might be in the series. Pretty much just Iroh and does it. And there's so many other good moments, but pretty much the only bad one we've discussed is Aang. But the rest are really good, specifically Iroh.
And it's Inks is only Inks could maybe even be okay. It's only bad just because he's being stupid.
I don't say he's being stupid. He's just doing silly stuff.
No, he is definitely being stupid. His heart's in the right place. Maybe I'll give him that. But no, Tales of Ba Sing Se, again, for what it is, in particular this type of episode where you get these little vignettes, I think rarely would you find one as satisfying as the Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
Chris, we're going to the top 10.
Yes.
Independent slides. Each one's got an independent rating. You ready for this goodness?
Number 10 is The Boiling Rock. I got an 8.6 out of 10. Boiling Rock, the biggest thing for me is it delivered the most jaw-dropping moment from the series, and that is May. First off, May going up against Azula, and just love that moment of Azula being like, "Why would you do it? You know the consequences." She says, "You miscalculated. I love Zuko more than I fear you." And then Azula's like, "No, you've miscalculated. You should have feared me more." And Azula's about to kill her. May gets her knife out, and then Ty Lee out of nowhere with the chi blocking. And from here, this is Azula just going downhill. Her psyche is just crushed after this.
Tremendous episode. Would have done a little bit higher. I dinged it a hair for the first episode being semi-pointless. That sounded even more harsh than it need to, but it's a tremendous episode for both the way it builds into the larger series and for the individual standalone story that it tells. Does a great job. It's a 2-part episode. Number 9, The Blind Bandit, a personal Shawn favorite. Love it. Good comedy. We finally meet Toph, and you know it right as soon as you see her because we've already seen her in these weird, tripping balls hallucinations in the swamp. But you finally meet Toph. You know it's the one, and then you kind of think that it's gonna, I don't want to say easy, but like they're just gonna recruit her and go on her merry way. But then you develop this really powerful subplot with her family and the sort of turmoil that she has to deal with in her home life, and realize that it's much bigger than that. So love that episode.
Blind Bandit, Toph. What more is there to say? It's great. It's Toph.
The boulder is not conflicted on this ranking.
Yeah. Number 8, Avatar, The Avatar and the Fire Lord, 8.7 out of 10, which has a really great sense of how the war started. It's just really cool to see another Avatar's life. And then it ended with one of the other most jaw-dropping moments, Zuko realizing that he is the great grandson of Avatar Roku.
I don't always love the flashback episodes, I admit it, but I do love the parallel journeys of Zuko and Aang here. It just speaks of bigger things to come for them as a duo.
Yeah.
Number 7, Zuko Alone, 8.8. Feel like Jamie needs to be here to defend this one, but as you mentioned, you got Zuko in a pure Zuko development episode. What more could an Avatar fan want?
Yeah, gosh, really good episode. We learned more flashback on Zuko, get to see him with his mother, get to see how his father rose up, get a little bit of insight to Iroh. A lot of information. And Zuko's still alone by the end of the episode. Really great episode. So much can be said about Zuko alone.
A lot of information, but not at all exposition-y, done in a very sort of tense, dramatic, in a good way.
Yeah. Number 6, The Day of Black Sun. This is, just so much momentum going into this episode. But for me, the biggest thing about this episode isn't the action. It's Zuko confronting his father, kind of fully completing his character arc.
I love it. It's a tremendous episode. Yeah, it's got some of our favorite moments. If you haven't watched our top 10 series moments, you should go watch those. A couple of
and this one got a 9.0 out of 10. So we're in the 9s now.
Which again, we got 6 episodes that we're calling in the 9s. I'd say that's very high praise. Number 5, The Guru. For all of those of you people who want to know like how things work or why things work, you want to question the inner workings of the show, this episode is for you. And then it's also really, really heartfelt, and you feel really bad for Aang and his predicament and the choice he has to make, and hashtag Empire Strikes Back clone.
Yeah. The moment that stands out for me in this episode is when Guru Patik says to Aang, like, that the air nomad's love for you didn't disappear, it just transformed into new love. And that moment always hits me hard.
It's a different tone than we're used to with a lot of these high ranking episodes, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Number 4, The Crossroads of Destiny at a 9.2 out of 10.
I can't spell, my bad. Desting?
Desting. The book 2 finale, it hit so hard. I think it's a great fight between Katara and Aang versus Zuko and Azula. You're kind of in that whole. It's funny because a lot of sitcoms do the whole like will they won't they thing with couples and relationships. And I feel like they do that with Zuko. They do like will he won't he be good, and oftentimes in those shows like they make couples together, then they take them apart, and like,
usually it's one fault or the other. Like this time it's this person does this thing stupid, and that time and that. Well, this time Zuko, you done messed up. Okay.
Yeah.
Why you gotta break my heart like this? I thought we were past it. You did the sweaty, feverish metamorphosis thing, and I thought we were done, and it broke my heart. But it's fine. Yeah. What I'm saying is that the heartbreak made for a tremendous episode, even if it left me like in a panic. Number 3, closely related, Lake Laogai. So we defeat Long Feng. Feels like at the time that you've defeated the Dai Li, you really haven't. You free Appa, a lot of good closure there. You lose the Blue Spirit. You kind of get turning point Zuko, you think, at the time. They do a good job of making you think that. So maybe best way to describe it is like an episode where it feels like a lot of things just come together in a very satisfying way.
Yeah. My biggest call here is the action. Like, this is probably one of my favorite fights in the series, because it's like 10 on 10 or something. Like, it's just such a huge array of different fighting abilities and powers, but all working so cohesively together. It's just directed so well.
9.4. I don't know if I said that before here, but thinking about how we rate things, and you call us generous or whatever you want, but like 9.4, we're saying this episode is about a half a step away from feeling like a very perfect episode.
Ooh, number 2, The Siege of the North, 9.7 out of 10. This episode where I feel like things got real. Like, they took everything up a notch, right? Yue sacrificing herself, Aang turning into the ocean spirit, wiping people out left and right. So Zhao gets taken by the ocean spirit by the end there.
Yeah, suck it, Zhao.
Yeah. Zuko having to deal with everything. Katara growing as a character. Just really amazing work done here. It's a great book 1 finale. I think this is the way book 1 season 1 finale should be. There should have a feeling of completeness, right? But it should still kind of be like, oh yeah, well, there's still the future. And I feel like oftentimes, like, especially lately, like season 1 of shows often end you in a place where it doesn't feel complete. Like, I recently watched a show called The Warrior Nun that doesn't feel complete. It just ended with more questions. Shows like, I think Umbrella Academy ended really incomplete on their
That kind of made
first
me
season.
sad, yeah.
I feel like more than not, oftentimes, especially lately, the first season, they're not trying to hook you in. They're not even trying to tell a complete story in the first season. They're just like, hey, just keep watching. Just trust us. I guess while Avatar was like, hey, you can trust us to deliver more great stories, but also this story here has a really great story.
You get the biggest action, period. You get like the best Avatar state possible. Lots of individual gratification things for individual characters. Great feels, hits you right in the feels really hard. Just you're like, well, why do I even have to care about Yue? I met her like 10 minutes ago. Well, guess what? She's the moon. So you have to. Everything you could want out of a finale is right here in this finale. But if this finale is not our favorite, it's because number 1, the finale, Sozin's Comet. It's because that one's our favorite. This is a 4-part episode. We gave it a 9.9. I think I had it was like a 9.5 on memorable, and it's literally just because it was like 4 episodes and it feels like it was being treated differently. And we kept saying this is a made for TV movie, just of an extremely high caliber, not made for TV like it shouldn't have been in theaters. It just feels like a TV movie in the best possible way. There's no better finale for me, at least. Nothing even close. Everything comes together in the way that you want it to, but maybe you didn't know exactly how you wanted it to before it happens, down to the detail. Like, it does a good job of keeping you on your toes, surprising you, but also making you feel extremely satisfied. 4 episodes of nonstop, either sort of action or something directly related to extremely important action. There's like no down spots.
It's the finale. Honestly,
this is great.
It's the greatest finale I think I've seen in any show. I don't care what the show is, and especially this day and age. We talk about like Game of Thrones. Like, this is the way to do a finale. Like, gosh, man, I really do want to go rewatch Game of Thrones. But also, I'm just like, that finale just ain't hitting right. I don't really feel like wasting my time. Avatar does not have that problem at all. It ends with so many satisfactory conclusions, but while still letting you kind of think about all the future, like Zuko's mom, stuff like that. Like, how will they rebuild everything? But the main story is told, it's done, and came to a really epic, satisfying conclusion.
I haven't watched. I have a much smaller TV repertoire than you do for sure, but just no questions saying that it is my favorite series finale, and potentially a little bigger saying would be like potentially one of my favorite episodes of television that I would ever watch on any given day if I just had to pick one. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, I got to mention the Azula Zuko Agni Kai. So beautifully directed. The music is amazing. And to me, that's the emotional weight of the episode. Yeah, really good.
Love it. Watch the whole series, if for nothing else than to totally appreciate this finale. Not that you can love it without watching the whole series, of course, but you shouldn't. You should just go watch the whole thing. Go to Netflix right now, or buy the DVDs. They're like $10. It's amazing. And that's our number one. That's that's not just our number one. That is all 53 Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes ranked. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. According to IMDb, which they ranked the individual episodes, number 1 was Sozin's Comet Part 3. Number 2 was Sozin's Comet Part 4. Number 2 was Sozin's Comet Part 4. Number 3, Crossroads of Destiny. Fair. Number 4, Day of Black Sun Part 2. Number 5, Zuko Alone.
Interesting.
Number 6, The Storm. Number 7, Sozin's Comet Part 2, Old Masters. Number 8, The Day of Black Sun Part 1. Number 9, The Guru. Number 10, The Chase. We had The Chase a lot lower than they did. On their worst.
Really? The Chase that high? I mean, yeah. I'm not saying I hate it. I don't know. Is it really that good?
Mm-hmm. The worst, The Great Divide. So we agree there. So we agree on the worst and the best. Number 59, Bato of the Water Tribe.
Okay.
I think they get it.
Awfully close.
And then the third worst was Jet, which I don't agree with that. I don't.
That makes me laugh.
They did put the King of Omashu as the next worst. It's 57.
They're again kind of the opposite of like the Chase. Like, is it really that bad? Is it? Whatever. What is that from IMDb or Metacritic?
IMDb.
Psh, those guys have only seen every movie ever. What do they know? Stick to movies.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter because IMDb didn't dedicate 2 years worth of multi-hour podcast episodes ranking this stuff out. So what do those guys know? Sheep. They're just sheep, Chris.
Let's see here. Yeah, I don't have an episode review for Rotten Tomatoes. I thought I would, or I thought I could somehow, but oh well.
While you're looking for that, I would like to say that I think my one takeaway from this is that by a combination of learning and growing as a human, and also getting to experience this side by side with you, it would be that I certainly appreciate Zuko's character more. Not as much as other people, but more. Maybe the second greatest arc in the show, perhaps.
Ooh.
The second greatest. No, but I appreciate his character much more, and I always appreciate it in the sense that understanding like he's such a pivotal turning point, but have at a minimum gotten much better at not just accusing him of being an annoying, angsty, stupid teenager and starting to try harder to appreciate his actions and his reasons for them, his motives, and him as a human. So I would say, looking back through this, that became very obvious to me that the further we got in, the further I appreciated his work. That was my turnaround. Whereas your turnaround was apparently the beach.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I do think I love Azula a lot more after going through this whole experiment. It's interesting because, man, like I go in with kind of different eyes. I feel like every time I watch Avatar, this time even more so because I haven't done a deep look at Avatar since kind of starting my YouTube channel and starting to look at things a lot, I don't know, with a more focused lens, right? Because in comparing character arcs and everything like that, have a greater appreciation for Sokka, his character arc. Have a greater appreciation for Katara. And also you realize, and also have a greater appreciation for Korra. And I know we'll get to that in our nets because stay tuned for that. We'll start reviewing Legend of Korra. But I don't know. I just look at Korra compared to other characters. I'm like, man, the things that people have issues with Korra, they don't seem to have kind of issues with the other characters from Avatar. But to me, it makes it better that all these people are human.
I haven't even watched Korra the second time, but I think watching through Avatar again and sort of seeing certain things that you'd want done differently and knowing that a certain percentage of those it kind of does, like makes the right changes or attempts to make the right advances, has me very excited and even more appreciative of Korra before I even start. But that's no slight to this because as a three book series, it stands alone in probably both of our minds as maybe our favorite shows of all time or among them.
I can't wait for us to review Korra and get done so we can definitively say which is the better show. We can rank all the seasons.
We can look at the averages. We'll have the numbers. I have a question for you that we never really addressed. Maybe it should be its own video, but I want to ask it now. We discussed whether or not book 2 or book 3 was better. Is that another video you want to have at another point, or do you have preliminary thoughts?
It's not that. We can just squeeze like maybe half of that into one because to me it shouldn't take that long to do that conversation.
Fair.
I haven't looked at our rankings yet, but
I didn't look at the rankings. I just thought of it now as we were talking about sort of changing opinions.
Going in, I have a feeling. I went in with thinking that book 2 was better than book 3, but only slightly. But in the feeling that, they were still both much better than book 1.
And I think the rationale there, which is totally fair, is that if book 3 has some episodes that are so much sort of throwaway, inconsequential, but I'll be interested to talk about that at some point in the future. With all due respect to book 1, you just don't have quite enough dramatic tension going for you, book 1, but it's okay. That's what you're supposed to do. So, Chris, it's been a lot of fun, but I think I'm out of closing comments, and it's 1 a.m. But I'm glad we did this one now because it's this is my turning the page. It's time to start thinking about Korra. It's time to start going to the next thing. I'm very excited. So thanks for staying up really late and doing this one with me. But I think I'm personally done for the evening unless you have other thoughts.
Nope, I'm done. I'm on daddy duty now. So.
Excellent. My name's Shawn Shaler. That's Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek, on YouTube and Twitter. Or the podcast is also on Twitter and Instagram. It's last_podcasters. Or on Facebook.com/Avatar The Last Podcasters. Come hang out with us. Leave us your thoughts below on what episodes we messed up on, and I'll explain why I screwed up the rankings. And in the meantime, thank you very much for hanging out with us through a very fun episode. We hope you'll come back next week.